YouTube, what is going on? So today we're going to be going over the actual pull value for the upcoming 3.1 patch. Now, if you aren't aware, we have two brand new characters, Luke and Amieth. Amieth is going to be coming out in Phase 1. Luke Herschen is going to be coming out in Phase 2. And along in Phase 1, we are also going to be getting the reruns of Chisa along with Lupa and the rerun of Galbrena and Phase 2. Now, just a quick little overview because I will be making build guides for both characters. Amieth is going to be a fusion sword dual DPS character kind of thing. It's very interesting to see how she's going to work. I'll have a more detailed explanation for her individual kit. But essentially what you want to be doing is you want to just be boosting her Toon Rupture damage. And the easiest way at this current point would be either having Mornier or Lene, ideally both on the same team with her, but there are workarounds which we will be getting into. And then Luke Herschen is going to be a Toon-strained basic attack dealing character who's a Spectro Gauntlets unit, who also ideally wants to be focused around aerial combat. His is a little more interesting in terms of gameplay, but in raw damage DPS numbers, he falls very short behind Amieth, who is arguably going to be the best damage dealing character in the game. But anyways, on to the actual rerun characters and who you should be pulling. So in Phase 1, we are going to be getting Chisa along with the rerun of Lupa. Now, what do these characters actually do and what do they provide for teams that are going to be coming out or characters you already have? So starting here with Lupa, because she is the oldest character out of all of the characters that are going to be coming out in the 3.1 patch. Lupa is your ideal fusion supporter sub DPS character because she does so much for a fusion team. Now, Lupa's biggest thing is honestly right here, is that she's able to ignore a target's fusion resistance up to 3%, and for each individual fusion character on the team, that actually goes up to a max of 9%. Then additionally, when you have 3 resonators total, including Lupa herself, so you're only going to be getting that 9%, but with the resonator attacking obviously a fusion character, they're going to be ignoring a further 6% of the enemy's fusion resistance. So you're ignoring 15% of the enemy's fusion resistance. Now, something that's also very important is right here, is that with Pack Hunt, you're going to be getting 6% attack increase and 10% fusion damage bonus when an ally attacks an Overlord character, Calamity character, all that, while also providing further fusion bonuses for all the characters on the team that are of the fusion category, which is a massive reason why that Lupa is just very, very good and the ideal candidate for a fusion team. Now, does she run ideally and perfectly with Amieth? Well, Amieth is going to be a fusion character, but in terms of what actually Lupa is providing in terms of supporting capabilities, if I can remember where it's actually at, because it has been a while since I've used Lupa, so that's kind of, counting as it is. Lupa is going to be boosting your Resonance Liberation damage, and the reason why she isn't 100% ideal for Amieth is Amieth doesn't want to have a full fusion team, at least at this current point. Obviously that could change later down the line if we could get a dedicated fusion support for Amieth, but Amieth wants to focus on Toon Rupture. And so Lupa will allow Amieth to resist enemy fusion resistance up to a max of 6% because of the fact that you will be having Lupa along with Amieth on a team. That's 3 plus 3%, that's 6%. But outside of that, you're not really getting any additional buffs from Lupa, as Amieth wants to do that Toon Rupture rather than ideally focus on the Resonance Liberation. So there's Lupa. If you have a fusion team, Lupa is absolutely amazing. Even paired up with someone like Galbrena, Lupa is still very good, allowing Galbrena to go past that fusion resistance, and Lupa, like, statistically is close to Galbrena's max capable team with Qinglin. But Galbrina falls just a little short of that. Lupa is ideally best used on a Brant and a Cheng Li team. It's very, very fast paced. It's very fun to play. But that's where Lupa's true value lies. Chisa's value, for a character who's been out for quite some time, not a lot of people have really gotten a full grasp, honestly, of like the best way to use her. People are using her in a Cartathea team along with Chacona, this team right here, but you're just like kind of swapping those defensive reductions and shreds into arrow erosion with Chacona, Cartathea. It's a very interesting play style, which, you know, depending on who you are, that might be how you want to go about it. But what Chisa essentially does is she does provide some healing and she provides defense resistance. So that's why people are really thinking about using her along with Lene to pair up with Amieth, because of the fact you're getting that defense shred with Chisa. Now, it's not going to be stacked up to the absolute maximum, and Chisa's not boosting the actual rupture of the Toon Rupture for Amieth, who that's what she wants. But Chisa is a very, very good, fun option if you don't plan on pulling Mornier, or, you know, if you do have Lene and you do have Chisa, like me, for example, as you can see, like I do plan on pulling Amieth, and I plan on having these two on the team with her. So that's another option. Galbrina is a very, very good character. As I previously stated, she runs decently well with Lupa, but you want Galbrina ideally with Qingyuan because you get the full damage capability with Qingyuan boosting Galbrina to the max. Galbrina is a great character. She does a boatload of damage, but she does fall off a little bit if you do not have Qingyuan or even Lupa. So it's an interesting patch. Granted, we do have two characters coming out who a lot of people are very excited about. They are excited about Amieth because of like the mech ability and all that fun stuff, dual resonance liberations, two different forms, all that great stuff, and aesthetically she looks amazing. While you also have a group also who's really excited for Luke because of the husbandos, and then you have a very interesting dynamic rerun group here with Chisa, Galbrina, and Lupa. The biggest thing here, though, is that pull for the character you have the most team composition for. And what I mean by that is, let's say, i.e., for example, I don't plan to go for Amieth. I have Lupa. As you can see, I don't have a whole lot of other fusion characters, so ideally I would want to get Galbrina to get that boost with Lupa going. But on the flip side, I also don't have let's say a good character who Chisa is able to boost. So I wouldn't be inclined to pull Chisa, as Chisa's best teams at this current point rely entirely on a arrow erosion sub defense shred character with Chisa on this team, or even honestly Chisa with Amieth. So in terms of value wise, I actually think Chisa is probably the least valuable character. The next character on this grouping, to be completely honest, and I might actually get some hate for that, is probably Galbrina, because of the fact that her damage does fall off if you do not have Qingyuan. And next up after that, honestly, is a little bit of a slippery slope, because of the fact these next three characters, Luke, Amieth, and Lupa, all heavily rely on their team options. Granted, that's not saying that Chisa and Galbrina don't rely on that as well, but Lupa, Amieth, and Luke really rely on that, because of the fact that Amieth and Luke both benefit tremendously from these two characters that we just got. Obviously Mornier right now, and Lene the first half of the 3.0 patch. But if I have to say definitively, if you really need me to answer, I do think number 3 option is probably going to be Luke Hershen, because of the fact that Amieth's raw damage capability is the best in the game. That it's just what it is going to be. It's going to be the best in the game. And Lupa is on a dedicated, like, fully optimal fusion team, so I do think Lupa falls into number 2, and then Amieth falls into number 1 for actual pull value.